Hey, what's up, guys? So the matchmaking is in, and as you can see, there are a couple guys I'm pretty sure I battled before in Bodie and Skin Beef, and maybe Coulson. And so right now I'm sitting at 396 in the ranking and 1816 in the pursuit for M1, which is quite a ways away. So we'll see how that goes. With my defense, Updog actually streamed last night, so a number of guys that jumped in. The normal guys like Flint being there, Darth, of course Updog, Zero stopped by, Pat was there, and then even Pathfinder stopped by. So they helped me with some minor adjustments that I think will make for big changes with my defense. And as you start with room 1, that having Dorm in here really is a waste, because they're going to use new warriors. Most of the time, new warriors are punched down on this team, and I do want this team to pull new warriors, which I think Hulk will do fine there. The idea is for the placement to be Cap and Hulk on opposite ends with Peggy in the middle, and that would probably stall out a bit. It's still going to be good efficiency, but stall it out a bit with new warriors. And of course, they can still go in with an Eternals Tangle Web. But the hope is they'll go new warriors because it's much better efficiency. And the deterrent, hopefully in room 2, moving Bishop in that back position behind Old Man Logan. So if they do go in with new warriors and they hit Bishop, it'll get some splash damage on Old Man Logan, hopefully get him started. And also, if they do it that way, or they just hit Panda Pool, it gets Panda Pool going with her taunts. So that's the idea there. With room 3, having Phoenix and Quicksilver in the back. And so here's the guys, we all talked about it. The general thought process here is to put Nightcrawler in the middle. Pat likes the idea of Phoenix and Quicksilver being in the back. That way, most likely Masters of Evil is going to come in on this counter. And if they do, then no matter who they hit, whether it's Forge or Nightcrawler, there'll be some damage on Phoenix and possibly Quicksilver, which giving him a slow could be a problem. And so if this goes according to plan, and they do not use successfully new warriors on room 2, and they go on with the Horseman Apoc counter, I think that makes room 4 a bit tougher to beat, because you have Black Knight in there and you don't have an Apoc to go against him. And I had some success last week running Jubes in here, because Jubes gives the X-Men 15% more health. After the rework, Sunfire, he does hit a lot harder, so I have a pretty good balance of damage here. And Desir had jumped in later on, and he has a similar team in that instead of Sunfire, he's running Forge and X-23. I do think X-23 will be good on this team, and Desir had actually mentioned it to me last week to run X-23. My thought on this particular team is that she's bringing the damage. I think I have enough damage. My thought is, because Jubilee is going to bring the X-Men 15% more health, that makes basically this Cosmic Crucible X-Men team and that trio from Unlimited harder to beat, especially with Black Knight. And then of course she gets a turn, which she probably will. She'll call for assists. But the placement order I kept the same. And once again, the discussion was going on here, and I think Zero did the math, and we figured out that Void Knight would get the taunt. And so Pat was saying, yeah, put Void Knight in the corner, and that would help, for this room. Most likely there's going to be a Cabal, but if not, then the taunt would not be right next to Scroll, that's how I had it before. And so, Pat helped a lot with this, even though I'm pretty sure it was just last week Zero had mentioned running Dorm in this room. There was a lot of discussion on the placement order here, keeping Peter and Penny, or Peter or Pav, as far away from Peter as possible. But I do like the idea of New War giving stealth to Peter and Pav. And so Pat agreed, and his thought was that if you have the positioning this way, and then when Pav gets the stealth, he will eventually give stealth to Penny. So even this placement order will be good if you're just running straight Spider Society, as Ghost is going to most likely go last and do the least damage, where you have Dorm. It's just that if you do run Dorm here, it makes it much harder to beat. And so my thought right now, there could be other counters guys will use here I would think it's going to be some type of lizard black cat team and how they're going to try to make that work. So this is the defense I'm going with, guys. And on Monday, when I see who my opponent is, I'll jump back in. We'll look at my opponent's stats again one more time, and then check out his defense to see how this is going to go on for the start of next week. So my matchup is against Shtark, and he was actually at the bottom of the ranking, but as you can see here, he's a very strong player when you look at how tall he's built. And here are my stats. This is his defense, and I had a chance to chat with Desir because he's my go-to on a lot of these, and he made a couple of really key suggestions in what I was originally going to go with and what I decided to go with. However, this room 6 with new warriors, I knew that it's a problem going in with new warriors against this Quicksilver team. And the mistake I made right there is I probably should have gone with the special, just like normal. But either way it goes, I'm not sure that they would have won in room 6 when you look at how this plays out. So let's just take a look. So I decided to save my new warriors, and I moved on to the Spider-Verse Black Knight team in room 4. And this is a suggestion from Desir. He shared his video with me. It's on the counter sheet, and as you guys can see, what I did is I watched it 3 or 4 times, and I'm playing it exactly as he does. And you see the first few moves here are straight in on Black Knight, and it makes a big difference in how this plays out. And Superior 6, straight Superior 6 can do the job. The key is to use Slayer's ultimate to kill Black Knight. And I think once you do that, you can see where the rest of Spider Society is. The team just melts away. But let's take a look. Now this was a really great suggestion from Desir because I was planning to go in with Apoc, and he told me to use Nova. And as usual, I watched his video 3 or 4 times to get the sequence down, and it's really very smooth in how it's going. So what I did is what he did: you ult on the Green Goblin with Ms. Marvel, and then I went in on the Green Goblin again and I stunned him with the Black Cat special. And so once I hit that special on Green Goblin, you see his stun, and it was about going in with the special here on the Craven. And after that, it's just pretty much easy work. But the blind, I decided to make sure all 3 got the blind, and then go back in on Craven with the stun just in case, because he revives. And then you can see how the rest of this plays out. I think we know how Cabal works, but it was a decision on whether to use Zemo or Emma. And I did end up taking my Zemo to 18. So I just want you guys to see how this plays out, because Zemo actually takes the hits from Nightcrawler, and you can see he's surviving. So let's just see how this plays out. I've done this Pegasus counter numerous times, and the suggestion I got from Zero is the first attack use the basic because it'll give village energy to the whole team. And I think Pat, in the last time we chatted, he said, well, why use a basic? They already start with ability energy. So I decided to start with the special. And I just want you guys to see how this plays out. It's very much similar in the play, but I'm thinking if this Infinity Watch were bigger, it's still a safer move to start with the first move being the basic. So I was really glad I didn't use my Apoc on the other room, and because I wanted to use them here. And so I was very confident going into this team. And I think as long as you hit Rogue with the opening move and you can stun her, it should play out well. As you guys will see, it was a struggle, and the struggle was to kill Dorm. And I'm not quite sure why. So what I want to do is just kind of look at this and kind of analyze it so we can talk about it more at the end. But you can see Dorm is in stealth, and it's like, well, how do you really get to him now? Because he's in stealth and he stays in stealth. But let's just take a look. So my first thought was to go in with the new warriors, and then I changed my mind because I'm like, well, I can clean up room 3 with new warriors, and let's just try the Eternals Tangle Web and going with OR. And it was really, it's an old counter in a sense using Tweet, and guys have used it against the out of time Dorm. So I wasn't sure how it would play with Quicksilver being in room 6, but it was a good choice in how it goes. So I think the main thing is I did the ultimate here, both ultimates on Quicksilver, and that got him down low enough to where my Icarus could get a double tap. But let's just see how this plays out. So I don't remember if everyone used their ults here, but it doesn't really matter because the main enemy here is Gambit, and this is New Warriors. So on a cleanup, they're going to be pretty excellent and just knocking this out as fast as possible. But let's just take a look. So Stark hasn't attacked yet, and that's fine. That's kind of be expected. He did log in an hour ago, so maybe he just checked to see what my defense looks like. But let's just go through my attacks here. So this was slightly worse than what I think I'm used to getting, the 8358. It was an experiment, especially since I dropped 2 rooms. But I think to get 4 or 5 points higher, if you start off with the basic, it does play out differently, makes a difference. Here, I'm not suggesting this for people to do, but I built up my Zemo to 18. I saw another guy a while back had his Zemo at 18. This is weeks ago. This is last season. And now I see why, because Zemo can take the hit. I mean, he survived. He's the only one that lost some health, but he did survive. And I think he went into the yellow for a second, and he was back up enough to be in the green. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with using Zemo with this team now instead of Emma because of the results I got. I think in some situations I might even need to use Zemo and Emma, and we'll see how that plays out as well. But this was a really good score to 8370. And here, to my surprise, I just really stumbled on this extreme rogue Dorm. But I think what really happened is my Kane got stunned, or he got blocked, or maybe both. And I think that just kind of messed the matchup. Now, why Absorbing Man wasn't taunting, or they didn't go after Absorbing Man, is beyond me. And I think I went with a special to make sure he would taunt. And I'm not, off memory, I'm not sure if that was after the fact, but I thought it was before the fact. So this definitely didn't play out as planned, and maybe there's just some RNG. And at this point, having dropped 2 rooms, I just gotta hope for the best with my defense. But at the end of the day, this would have been super low efficiency anyway, because New Warriors did a great job at the cleanup. So the points being extremely low here is really just the Massive Evil Apoc. And so this counter worked splendidly. Desir called it. He brought to my attention that Slayer gets his ult turn 1 because Spider-Verse, there's so many Spider-Verse heroes here, so he gets his ult turn 1. And that's exactly what happened. And if you watch this video, or you're watching this video, you can just go step by step exactly that attack order. He did it in room 6 with Black Knight, it worked. And so I did it in room 4 with Black Knight, and it works. And you can see it's 8366, so it's a very good counter. And a good reason to keep the full Superior 6 on offense, since we have so many Spider Societies on defense now. And so here, originally I was planning on going in with Spider Society Apoc on 4. I was going to use the full Superior 6 here. And just here brought to my attention, said that's a bad move, switch it up, and just use the full Superior 6 on room 4. And that's when he showed me his counter, and we talked about it a bit. And then he said, just go into this room with the Secret Defenders and Nova, because you'll get that stun, and that's a big deal. With how this fight goes, it'll play out better than using Strange. And he called it, and I was right. And you can see this room is an 8363. So the high efficiency on those 3 rooms that I got could help if he drops 2. But at the end of the day, he's got a lot on offense. I mean, he's got Scroll and Apoc, so I'm not sure that'll happen. But, we'll see how it goes. And so here, this was just a bad play. And going forward, I think it's just time to just start relying on my Eternals more with Tangle Web since I have them on offense. And New Warriors are starting to take a backseat to a lot more. Mostly to me because I think the big 3 on this team need to be G19 in order to really work. And that'll be a ways away. I'll probably do that after my second run for Dark Dimension. Definitely not my first run, because after my first run, the plan would be to take up Spider Society to G19. But at the end of the day, they're losing some value. Clearly, as you see here, even though I misplayed it, because in the old days, even a misplay would not have slowed them down. And I think that's just something to keep in mind, no matter how well built your New Warriors are in certain counters that are designed to make them stumble. And that Tangle Web is still a very good team to use offensively in Cosmic Crucible. So the results are in, guys. And I was hopeful he would drop 2 rooms. I'm really surprised that he dropped so many rooms. But let's just take a look to see how my defense did. So room 1 went as expected. New Warriors on out of time with Hulk. And he got an A370. But this kind of plays into things, because if he's not going to try the New Warriors on this room here, which I'm surprised that he had this many attempts fail, it kind of forces what I would think his number 2 would be the team to win. But he has a 2-piece Horseman team there, so I'm guessing that it doesn't work with Nova. Not quite sure why he didn't come back in with 3-piece. And of course, I don't know. I've never seen anybody go into this Mercs team with Hive Mind Apoc, but I'm starting to think Bishop does something to this team to make it a little more difficult that's getting overlooked. And then he goes in with Cabal. We know Morgan is a good villain to put with this team going against the Mercs, and he had Vulture, this is all heroes. So I'm not going to show this because this would have been an 8370 had he gone into this the first time around, and we've seen this played quite a bit. So we're going to go to room 3. And room 3 is interesting because he went in with straight Masters of Evil. And I'm pretty sure we can get an idea how this plays out. So I'm not going to show this one either, because we've seen Masters of Evil go into kind of tougher versions than this, and he just played it well. He got a slightly below average score, but I think this still played very well. And here, this team actually held. So I see he tried his Hive Mind Scroll here. Maybe he took Hive Mind off defense. He's just not sure what to do with him on offense. But this was maybe had a chance to work had he used Apoc here. So I'm not quite sure why he used Scroll here, because Black Knight is a scroll counter. He goes in, he sacks, which I think this is probably a good sack, because we can see that he focused on Jubilee. And so room 5, he went in with the same team twice. So let's just take a look and see how this goes, because he's got Apoc with 2099 and Weaver. And I think Kester and Emma, those were good picks, but I've been told many times that 2099 will really speed Scroll up. So let's see what he did to make that not happen. Okay, so quite now, he goes in with the ability block on Scroll and retaliates on Scroll. So nobody got the taunt, so I'm not sure. What if that'll play out the same every time? But this could be worth just saving it in your rosters, guys. It has to be some type of RNG to it, because he did the same attack twice and it didn't work the first time. But clearly it's working well the second time. And so this is room 6, and it looks like this will be the team to beat it, dorm or no dorm, because you've got Secret Defenders with Lizard. But let's just take a look. So looking at those attacks, I think what I'm going to do is put Dorm into room 3. Phoenix is not helping her. Maybe I built her too big for what would be the ideal use for her in 3, and we'll put Dorm in there, see if that shakes things up, and just go back to full Spider Society in 6, because I'm not seeing much of a difference for what. Yeah, I suppose if they did not use Secret Defenders, maybe the revives would come in handy, but most guys probably will. And then Lizard is always an option on Spider Society. So that's it for this one, guys. And it was a good showcase of the defense. Definitely going to run this some more and hopefully get the best use out of it. Okay, guys. Chat later.